Welcome back. It's now 8:30 and we are on the last part of the segment of the show, and it's Technology Tech Central. And joining me to have that conversation is Papa Harun, who's the CEO for Kilifi Moringa Estates. And well, before we get to even the technology part of it, we'll start by understanding what Kilifi Moringa is all about. Welcome, Papa Harun, and good to have you. Now, Chivas Venture is a social enterprise competition platform launched last year and has produced global finalists from Kilifi. Kilifi Moringa was selected as the Kenya finalist on 7th December at Aspire Center from 68 applications received. Kilifi Moringa encourages women in Kilifi to cultivate moringa, which is known as a wonder tree. In studio now is Papa Harun, the CEO for Kilifi Moringa Estate, the project and the Chivas competition. Welcome. So let's start first of all by just understanding what the Kilifi Moringa is all about.
Well, Kilifi Moringa, I think it's in our name. We promote and grow moringa. We don't grow it ourselves. We encourage smallholder women in our county, Kilifi County, to grow it on their farms. It's a plant that they can intercrop with other plants, so it's not as if they're changing their agriculture. But we've asked them and helped them, supported them to grow moringa as a cash crop. They had always grown it for their own nutritional purposes, but now we've encouraged them to grow it as a cash crop because, as it turns out, the moringa tree, as you mentioned, is a wonder tree, a miracle tree, as they call it, and it has multiple uses. Not only nutrition, which most people know about moringa, but also the seeds produce oil. It's an oil seed. And this oil has become extremely valuable and in very high demand in the cosmetics industry. So we produce oil from the women in Kilifi County, which we then export to various buyers in the cosmetics industry, including hair care, skin care, perfumery, and so forth. You might say that at the core mission of Kilifi Moringa is that we have connected some of our poorest women, women who have been hard hit by the collapse of tourism. The men are all out looking for jobs. Women are out at home on a 1-acre farm supporting 7 people on average. So the poorest of our women, we've connected them through the cosmetics industry to the most affluent women of the world who buy those cosmetics. You might say it's a business that is from women, by women, for women.
And this moringa tree, the wonder tree as it's being called, is it a common tree or a common plant that you find in the coastal region?
Absolutely. Not only in the coastal region, but all over Kenya. There's a lot of moringa, I believe, in Western Kenya as well. We're also buying seeds from there. But not only Kenya, really all of East and Central Africa, even West Africa. It is a plant that grows all over the subtropical world, as a matter of fact. It originates in India, and they are still to this day the largest suppliers and growers of moringa. But it has now spread all over the subtropical world. So everywhere from Central America all the way right across to Southeast Asia, you'll find people growing moringa. It tends to grow quite literally where hunger is prevalent. So if you see a map superimposed where you find malnutrition and hunger, you'll also find the moringa crop. So it is a natural, endemic, and existing in place resource for people to tackle not just hunger on their smallholder farms, but now through the oil and through the fact that moringa has become so popular, also as a cash crop. So it is, in a very real sense, a way out of poverty for people who really don't have any other
How expensive is it to maintain, to grow, and to eventually now get the products that you get out of it?
Well, that's the other part of the miracle. The moringa tree is highly resilient. It grows best actually in low rainfall. It prefers a lot of sunshine. So instead of having to grow it in greenhouses or have any expensive inputs, it'll grow naturally. It is pest resistant. It is drought resistant. In fact, we have been sponsored by the Kenya Climate Change Venture, which is part of the Kenya Climate Initiative Center, simply because it is a climate resilient plant. So even where you have marginal lands, where people can't grow anything else, where even maize doesn't do very well, the moringa tree will thrive. So it really is, in that sense, and for Africa and our people certainly, a miracle discovery, a miracle tree.
And are the returns good to the farmer or whoever that it is that is growing the moringa?
Good point. Well, certainly in our case, the women who were growing on their farms were growing maize as a staple. And the soils, the climate conditions, everything were really so poor that they were getting no more than maybe about 100 kilos of maize per year, per farm, per 1 acre farm. You can buy that 100 kilos of maize for 4,000 shillings in the shops today. Whereas with moringa, and we buy their seeds, we buy them in kilos. It takes 2 years to grow the tree, but once it starts producing, it produces an average of between 2 and 3 kilos per tree of seeds. And now they will grow something like 250 trees on each of their farms. Like I said, not replacing any other crop. So they grow 250 trees multiplied by 3 kilos per tree on average, 2 to 3. You get between 5 and 750 kilos of seeds. Multiply that by 250 shillings per kilo. And certainly in our area, we've seen incomes not just double, but not just triple, but we've seen incomes grow from somewhere between 3 and 5 times per year for the people that we are planting with. And this for a plant that requires no inputs whatsoever. So it's not that they're earning money and then having to put that money somehow back into the plant.
Buy the seeds and
that money just they're walking away with it. They don't have to put it anywhere else.
Well, it truly is a wonder tree.
Sure.
All right, let's talk about the competition and the fact that Kilifi Moringa has won. Maybe you can let us in on what you have won and what the competition is all about.
How interesting. The Chivas Regal Venture, the Chivas Venture as it's called, is actually in its 4th year this year. It has been held every year, as I said, to find what they call the most promising social enterprises on the planet. And we won that competition. Really, it came out of nowhere at us. A friend of mine alerted me to the fact that they were holding the competition. I sent our application in. I gave them the details. They called me in. Due diligence was done. This is not just some sort of airy-fairy fancy thing. This is really a technical exercise. They did their diligence. They looked through our numbers, called me in for a final interview, and then we had a final event in Nairobi. Turns out I won. The event is, like I said, a very serious thing. It's not some sort of a publicity stunt. First and foremost, they are talking of a very significant sum of money that is possible to win. We're talking of $1 million or a share of $1 million, which really allows ventures like ourselves and really all over the world, even part of that, to really take the next step. So this is not just some stunt. This seems to be the real thing. On top of that, they do go into your numbers in great detail in so-called due diligence. Anyway, so I've just returned, I think at the end of March, I returned. They set up a week-long, what they call accelerator course, effectively to prepare us for the final. There are 27 finalists from around the world, everywhere from Chile to China. 27 of us met in Oxford in the United Kingdom, where they basically gave us a course to prepare us for a final in Amsterdam, which is on the 20th to 25th. As part of that preparation, they've also put their venture out on the internet, and people can go visit the website. It's called chivasventure.com. And if you go there, they'll ask you to meet the finalists. We are one of the finalists, and there are 27 of us. And you can vote if you'd like to do that. Vote for us or really anybody else. And if we win the internet vote, well, that would be a great shot in the arm for us. That would put something like 5 million shillings into the kitty, which all of it pretty much goes to our farmers and to buy more seeds and to grow our business. So we'd really hope that people go and vote.
That you'd win. And once that money is won, how does that translate to benefit now the farmers?
Huge. Well, number one, we could buy more equipment. If we can buy more equipment, we can produce more oil. For each kilo of oil we produce, we require 6 kilos of seeds. So basically, you might say for every dollar that we invest in our business, you can multiply that by 6 in terms of the purchasing that we'll need to do from our farms. Not only that, but there's marketing. We've only scratched the surface in terms of African moringa on the international markets. As I said, India is the big supplier right now. So we could go head on with some of the big players in the market, with marketing. There's also direct supports for our farms. We've got 300 plus, maybe 400 farms at this point. We'd like to get to 1,000. We'd like to get to 2,000. And that money will help us enormously in growing. In other words, in what we do is we support the farms, both financially and technically in terms of advice and so forth, for the first 2 years to 3 years until they become productive. That is, I wouldn't say expensive, but when you're talking on a scale of thousands, even a small amount of money per farm can add up to a lot. So money will go towards supporting farms and bringing more farms on stream. So it goes up and down the value chain, everything from the farmers themselves right through to the marketing of the product in the global markets. That money will be able to, as it were, seed initiatives and activity throughout the value chain. In other words, to upscale our business from being a very promising start, like I said, 5 times the income, being a very promising start, to being a global player. And we believe that moringa can be a cash crop, not only for Kenya, but really for the whole of East and Central Africa, where really it's needed most. Okay. That money will help us get there.
All right, and with the moringa and the seed that you've talked about, and the oil and the byproduct that you get from the moringa, is that processed locally, or is that something that has to be done out of the country?
No, it's all processed locally. We set up our factory, our oil production factory in rural Kilifi County. We trained local people over there. There were some young men and women who had graduated from high school, some of them even from colleges and universities, and we were able to absorb them into our organization. It is a fairly technical process. So we're retaining skills in there. It's interesting you mention byproducts, because that's one of our main focuses. That's one of the things that we can do if we get sponsored, if people vote for us and so forth by Chivas. Like I said, we crush 6 kilos of seeds to obtain one kilo of oil. So effectively, we've got 5 kilos of waste. You know, you got the 1 kilo out, 5 kilos of waste. Well, what do we do with that? And that's a big question when you're processing something like 60 to 90 tons of seeds for a single order, as we're doing right now. Well, what do you do with 50 to 60 tons of waste material? That turns out to be the most interesting question of all. Well, we put it through a biodigester from a company that we got here in Kenya, a local company that manufactures biodigesters. And we got a biodigester, which is effectively a way of allowing your waste to naturally, organically rot away, and it'll produce biogas. And at the end of that process, once it has rotted appropriately and released all its biogas, you end up with a slurry, what they call, and that slurry is a perfect organic fertilizer. Wow. So here we are, we're doing what is called a circular economy, whereby we're buying the seeds from the mamas, the women on the shambas, we're giving them money, they're eating that moringa as well, so they got food nutrition. We go around, we give them gas, which means that they don't have to go looking for charcoal, don't have to cut trees, don't have to spend 2-3 hours a day carrying wood. And then it goes all the way right around, back down to the individual plant again, where they're putting the slurry that we get from the biodigester of those seeds as fertilizer. So it's a complete cycle. And that really is where agricultural and agribusiness really needs to go. We're pioneering that field.
Okay, that's interesting. And how is the buy-in by locals, number one, and number two, by the younger generation? Because farming is not something that traditionally has been viewed as something that one could do when they're young. However, from what you're saying, it sounds like a very good source of income.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, the buy-in from the market, I guess the best statistic is that when we started, there were practically no other buyers of moringa seeds in the market. Today, we actually have to, hold meetings and request our farms, please don't sell all your moringa to everybody else, because there are so many buyers who have come in. I think we win out on consistency and on volume there. But the market for moringa seeds has simply exploded. It started from nothing when we got in. When we got into the market, people were willing to sell their seeds for 50 shillings a kilo. Right now, seeds can be sold to one-off buyers for 400 to 500 shillings a kilo. Wow. And there's a lot of them, which means that the business of moringa, the agribusiness of moringa, even at the small scale, the farm, the one-off shamba, has become a profitable business. It's no longer just subsistence and keeping yourself alive. Now it's actually turning into disposable incomes. And that, of course, attracts the huge community of stakeholders like the children. They don't necessarily have to go looking for a job if they can turn their 1 acre shamba into a 5-fold income and make some money out of that. Well, why do they need to rush off and go looking for a job? So we're seeing that happen in Kilifi County as well. I did mention that some of the kids that we've seen, some of the young men and women, mostly women to tell you the truth, girls, have come in with high school degrees. And you might have previously asked yourself, well, what's the use of a high school degree when you don't have a job, when you're coming out and there are no jobs? Well, this is one of the things at a small level we're doing right now, is we're able to retain the educational skills and investments that parents and people have made in the rural areas and keep them there and give them and reward those investments, reward that education with a meaningful economic package on their own farms with a tree they're very familiar with anyway.
All right, and we wind up now, but maybe just run us through the voting process in case somebody wanted to vote.
Sure. Well, you'd go to the chivasventure.com. Right there on the front page, you'll click to enter, and then they'll show you a page which has all the pictures of all the contestants, and you can click on a button right there and go vote for us. You do have to be of legal age. You do have to register through Facebook, and you can only vote once. But it's really a simple process. Within 2 or 3 clicks, once you hit the chivasventure.com site, within 2 to 3 clicks, you will have voted for us or indeed any one of the other 27. And I strongly suggest people do look at those other 27. People are doing some very interesting things. But we're Kenya. We're hoping for Kenyans to vote for us. We're carrying our flag.
All right. Thank you very much, Papa Harun, CEO for Kilifi Moringa. Maybe parting shot and words of advice to possibly social entrepreneurs who possibly would want to impact, like the impact that you have in Kilifi.
Follow your dream, but be careful that it's not just a dream, that it has reality, that it is grounded in reality. But if you have a dream and it's helping people, you deserve it to yourself, you deserve it to them, to follow it all the way until somebody says, you can't go any further.
Thank you very much, Papa Harun, for joining us this morning and letting us know about the moringa tree, which I actually didn't know about until now. And I'll definitely be doing a bit more research to find out some of the benefits. There you go. It's now 13 minutes to 9, time for us to wind up. And thank you very much for joining us right here on Morning Express. From us right here